Okay, guys. My apologies for the session getting disconnected earlier. And the point which I was trying to drive is that I did not lock my table, and when I dragged this formula down, the majestic view appeared correctly because it was still a part of the proper valid table. But when I went to a, l- a row down further and I used this, it was referring to balance, and the table which was in reference to this particular formula, it had dragged two rows down and it was not covering Balin anymore. It was just starting from Carlota. Okay, and that's the reason why after doing a VLOOKUP, it found there is no Balin. And whenever you don't get a valid value which you are looking out for in the exact match, the answer which you get in response to this is a hash array, and that's why we got a hash array. I I hope you understood the reason why we locked the table for VLOOKUPs. Any confusion on
Sir,
this?
if we write like butterfly instead of balance, we'll get the answer with the same
So
formula.
sorry, which if you use quarterfly,
Yeah, instead
yeah,
of balance. Yes.
yes, you will get it, because if
Yeah.
you
But
if
it
you
is inside the table range.
if you use like this, you will get 8.95, because the thing is,
Okay.
quarterfly is still in that table reference. Quarterfly is still a valid value, it's still there in the range of the table, so it will give you, but it becomes an inconsistent formula, because it works for
Yes.
certain entries, it doesn't work for certain entries. All right, and that's why, to make it more consistent, more standard, we always go and pick up the first formula which we entered, ensure it's locked. Once it's locked, our job is done, because that's a very important thumb rule with VLOOKUP, that your tables needs to be locked. Otherwise, they will move here and there, make your formula inconsistent, and it will cause you a lot of problems. So if you enter balance, and you will still get the valid value. So Rashmi and Vajanti, are you guys comfortable with this first version of VLOOKUP, which you see on your screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Any
sir.
any confusion, Vajanti?
No,
No, your voice is not clear. That's why I think the volume
no,
was too
it's
low.
clear.
Clear, right? Great.
Yeah.
Now I throw you some complications to this, and then we will see how we can make this VLOOKUP more stronger, more powerful. If we apply certain things with VLOOKUP becomes even more powerful, and there is no chance in any way that you will get a wrong answer while working with VLOOKUP. So we'll incrementally we will try to add problems to it, and then we will see how we can fix these problems. Okay. So here I'm going to add a value to another thing, and let's see if I use this squad. Okay, you saw this value is squad, right? It's what, 35.95. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Guys, just give me the answer so that I can get some
Yes,
energy
yes.
and I can respond you quickly on this. So squad is there. Now if I drop this formula, if I copy this formula and keep it below, do you think it will work for me? It will give me 35.95.
Yes.
Should.
Okay, let's see. एक दो तीन. है शनि. हे राम, अब क्या गुनाह हो गया? What happened? I can see it's squad. Okay, let's see. Let's press F2. It's referring to squad. It's referring to the correct range of table. Why is it not working? Why is it showing a hash any CID किस्म का कोई दिमाग या कोई solution, कोई anyone wants to be a ACP Pradyuman or Daya and try to solve this case?
Sir, it must not be an exact match then.
Yes, it's an exact match. We are looking for an exact match because we put a zero in the end. Zero stands for exact match. I'm looking for exact match, but you are almost close. What you are trying to say is that we are looking for exact match, but maybe we are not getting an exact match. Now, what can be a possible problem in this case? This 99% of the time this happens when in real world life. I can tell you 9 out of 10 times this definitely happens with someone or the other because of some XYZ factor.
Because of the flight range, there are 220.
Sorry.
Because the flight range, the meter,
Ye-
because there are two 20s.
No, don't look at flight range. We are not looking for flight range at all. We are looking
Okay.
only for the price. I'm not getting the price. I'm getting a Hashimi. So Vajanti
Sir,
was
maybe the quad must be having some more in something more into the
I didn't get your
price cell
no
in the
no
price. No,
no. See, you guys were looking in the right angle when you said that we are looking for an exact match, but we are not getting an exact match. There is something wrong, something naughty or mischievous which I've done and in front of you guys, but maybe you didn't see it happening. You were not able to catch me when I was doing that. Something wrong.
can you do it again, sir?
No. Okay, let me break it down for you. Uh, Look at this quad. Okay, this value. If I press F2 over here, where do you see the cursor is blinking?
I don't know
Sorry,
first.
the cursor which is there in the cell. Where is it
After
blinking?
quad,
It's
Okay.
blinking after
after quad.
D. After
Yeah,
D, right?
right.
Now look at the entry which I've made over here.
There's a gap space.
Exactly. That's a point which I was trying to drive. Because of data quality issues, many times you get some unwanted white space and your uh, values which you enter. And if those values are not exactly matching to what the reference table is showing, then you can get a hash array in your VLOOKUP. How do you solve this? There are two ways. One way is that you do into fixing this white gaps, which is by just putting a backspace. I remove this gap and I get the entry correct. It shows me 35.95. But many of the time, if we don't remove that blank space, okay, many of the time we actually get deceived by looking at the looks of it. We say, okay, here is quad. Why are we still getting a hash in? We look at the formula. We are so focused on the formula that we forget to check that the entry which we have done with the data, it may be flawed. If we put a F2 over here, we come to know very easily that this entry was flawed. There are many ways of fixing this blank entries. I will teach you those when we go on to text function, how to tackle these kind of blank or white spaces. Okay. But right now, what you can do is you can either enter a backspace or you can do the best thing which can happen with VLOOKUP, which can come with VLOOKUP. What you can do is there is something called as data validation. Okay. Now this is what you were referring to, Vajanti, as personalized list or personalized data. So data validation, I'm just going to throw you another concept of data validation, which will make this VLOOKUP more powerful and error proof. What will happen is you will go to data tab. There is something called as data validation under data tools. There is an icon over here. Okay. What data validation do is once you click on this, you can see it's a data validation option over here. You can click on this. It gives you this kind of a dialog box with three tabs: setting, input message, error alert. Okay. Settings has got different ways of tackling your data validation. It will say, okay, if so, it's basically, let me demonstrate one example for you and then I can cover up the other things for you. Okay, the the answer which I'm looking out for, the solution which I'm looking out for is called list over here. If I click on list over here, it asks me basically where is the source of this list, how do you want to populate this list, what are the values which you wish to populate. I'll say, okay, the source is going to be my reference table, that is excluding the headers. I'll just go and select these cells which are a part of my Excel table. Okay, a reference table. I will select the cell. I'll just click on OK. The moment I do this, what happens is if I go to the cell now, you will see a small drop down box. Do you see this small drop down icon? Are
Yes,
you
sir.
are you able to see this? It's not there in the
Yes.
second cell. It's only in the first cell because I kept it only in the first cell. Now, if I click on this drop down, I'll get all these product IDs, the reference table, whatever the product names were there, I will get exactly those products names over here. I can select any one of them. I'll get the correct answer. If I press a Control D or if I copy them and paste it in the below cells, uh, so it will still work correctly over here. I can go and select them as per what I want. And here is a squad. Here is my majestic, sorry, Carlota. Here is say Tryfly. Okay. So if I use this formula Control D now, I'll get exactly the same message on the price. Basically, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make my formula error proof. So I first ensure that my formula is entered correctly with all the cells locked up correctly. Then what I do is I ensure that the input which I'm giving to my formula, those are standard entries. Those cannot be made error. You know, there's no scope that anyone can manually go and enter anything into it. It will never happen because the moment people will do try to do this, the Excel data validation will throw an error and to show you this value doesn't match with the data validation restriction defined for the cell. What it means is I have defined some rules for this particular cell using this data validation concept. As per this rule, all the values which can be entered, valid values which can be entered in the cell are going to be only from these possible options. You cannot enter anything other than this. Okay, if I even if I try to enter something like try fly, okay, say if I enter it try, sorry, try, and I miss out putting a hyphen, just put try fly, it will still throw me an error saying that it's not matching. I can click on retry, I can keep trying until I get it correct, and once I do this, it will accept it and it will work correctly. So we are trying to bound that particular cell with certain rules about what possible values a user can enter into the cell. Okay, either it can use a drop down list or it can manually enter those valid values in that particular cell, and that's is what is called as a data validation. Are you guys able to understand this data validations, and did you guys understood how it helps the VLOOKUP to be more powerful?
So we have to always select the list only, data validation.
For this particular situation which I'm talking to you about,
Okay.
we can use the list. Data validation, actually, there are many different ways, you know, in which you can actually work on this. Is, for example, you can see over here. Here is the upper limit is 1 and the sorry, the lower limit is 1, the upper limit is 5. So we need to enter the size of the bolt. So the values which we can enter, valid values, is 1 and 5. We don't want anything to be entered below 1 or more than 5. So how do we restrict that? We go to data validations once again. We click on this. Now, instead of selecting this over here as a list, we can select this as a whole number, because here we are using whole number. We can refer them to the cells. That is a lower limit. The minimum is referring to B39, which is this lower limit, and the maximum value which is there is referring to the upper limit, which is B40. Okay, and once I click on OK, if I try to enter 4, it will take it because it's between 1 and 5. But if I try to enter -1, it will not take it. It will give me, please enter a valid number. If I enter 6, it will not take it. If I enter 5, it takes it, because that's the range, 1 and 5. Similarly, for this particular thing, I've given a range of 6 and 15. So if I enter 7, it will take it. But if I enter 4, it will not take it. It will say, please enter a valid number. Now, how do I get this message? I get this message is because when I enter data validations over here and I define my rules over here, the settings, okay, then I can also go and enter the error alert. So in the error alert, I'm saying stop, oops, error, and I give a error message saying that please enter a valid number. I can also give a polite message to the user that please enter bolt number, enter the number based on the limits defined. And that's what, if you see, I take this to any cell for which I have entered the data validation. You see that yellow box in the end? It's giving you a message, please enter a bolt number. Enter the number based on the limits defined. That is coming because I entered that message for the user in the input message. Do you see that? Please enter the bolt number and then enter the number based on the limits defined. That is where the message is coming from. And whenever I get an error, I get the error something like this. Oops, error, please enter a valid number. And with the stop symbol, you can always make it like a warning or like a information. It's always on you. Some people like to be polite, so they keep it like a information over here. Some like to just to be a more, what do you say, overwhelming or something like that. They will give you a warning. Some people are strict, so they like to keep it stop. So it's your choice, completely your choice. But if you put an error, something like this, if I put uh, over here, if I put a 4, you will see the error is coming with the red cross indicating please enter valid values, and it says oops, error at the top. I hope you guys are getting a hang of it, of how I'm controlling the values to be entered in the cell from the user. I'm using data validation. So that's the concept which I wanted you to understand, that whenever you want to control the user, control the input of the user, and you want those input as per what rules you have defined for the cell, that is where the data validations will come into place. Like something like this, like the way I've explained over here. Okay. Any confusion on this so far? There are many things. Like you can also do it for dates. You can do it for time. We will cover this in detail, maybe towards the end of the session, not the session, towards the end of the Excel basics. But this is what I wanted to drive the point, is that in VLOOKUP, whenever we use a data validation, you at least you make your output error free. There is no chance that an error can happen if you use a data validation. Any confusion on this so far?
No,
Hello?
no, sir.
Okay. I thought I
No, sir.
lost
No,
you
sir.
guys. Okay. Um,
No, sir.
all right.
So that's an easy method to validate this boomerang list, or you have to go through this process of data validation only.
Uh, what do you mean by easy process?
Means you said like if there are many rows, like many columns, rows like that, then you cannot backspace and do that. So you have shown this with
Yes,
method
yes,
of data validation,
yes.
correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
you
So
want it the other way, other than data validation, or like
yeah,
the squad example which I gave to you, right?
yeah, correct.
So what will happen is, just to give you a basic thing, I'm going to remove this data validation rule over here. So you can see the rule is no longer there. There is no data validation over here. There is no drop down. So if I enter squad over here with a space, I'm still getting a hash in over here, because that is an incorrect answer. Because if I press F2, you can still see the squad is appearing over here with a space. So
Correct.
what we do is, in Excel, there is always a formula called as trim, Trim, trim. Like you trim your hair, okay,
Yeah.
or you trim anything which is extra, okay. So you can just keep trim over here on the cell, okay. Sorry, I think I applied it incorrectly. When you're referring to this A15, A17 cell, okay, this A17, what I will do is, inside the VLOOKUP itself, while referring to A17, before I use A17 as it is, I'll say this A17 value will undergo a trim function. Okay,
Okay.
so I just use a trim over here. So what happens over here is that when I hit this, you will see the value is now appearing as 35.95. What happened is, if you use my Excel trick, which I explained to you, the evaluate formula, that is,
Evaluate. Huh.
you go to data, no, to formula, and in the formula, you go to
Evaluate
evaluate
form.
formula. If you use this now, evaluate, you will see it's a squad entering with with a space towards the end. If I click on value, evaluate now, because trim is getting executed, the output now you get is only the squad without any space towards the end. Trim has
Right.
removed that white space, and it has made ensured that the data quality issues are getting fixed by using the trim function. So once that valid data comes out, it goes into VLOOKUP and you get the proper answer. But that is a way in which you can apply trim only if you know there's a data quality issue with your file. Okay, but if you want to be one step ahead of that, because this Excel formula will definitely work, there is no issues. There is this is one way. I would rather make it as a plan B of using trim function. My plan A would certainly be using a data validation list over there.
Okay.
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 All right. So moving ahead, see, many times there is a quite a possibility, okay, like the way I say try fly, okay, which is with a hyphen over here. Okay, if I copy this formula and I paste it over here, it will work fine. It's showing 4.95, and I think the total over here should have been this into my unit price, which is 14.85. That's fine. But if someday, say, it's neither Rashmi nor Vajanti, there's a new user, okay, who forgot to put a hyphen and she put a trifly and it showed a hash in a, okay, she's not expert like you guys. She is not able to understand why the hashing is coming in the front page. Okay, she didn't have time to investigate and find out what is the data quality issue, or is it an input error from her side, or what exactly it is. One other way of handling this hashing is by making VLOOKUP be a bit polite and answering you. Okay, suppose this file goes to your boss, okay, and if he sees this hash in, he'll doubt, because the moment we see hash in appearing on the screen, people will definitely raise a doubt. They will say that, oh, is this file inconsistent, is the formula inconsistent? So they will have all kind of questions coming up. One way to handle this particular thing, or to be polite to your uh, Excel function, is that you use something called as if error. Okay, if error is a beautiful function which I keep on using it many times. What it says is that if you can see the Excel parameter, okay, the values of this f error, the parameters, there are two parameters. One is value, one is value if error. Both of them do not have any square brackets. It means it's a mandatory requirement. I need to enter two parameters for this if error function. So the first thing is it says that, okay, give me the value. So I'm saying that, okay, whatever value this VLOOKUP function produces becomes the value for my if error. Now, if that value is anything which is an error, okay, I believe in my last topic I may have given you the list of different kind of errors which we can see, like a hash div, like a hash na, like all hashes. I think in the previous chapter we did look into those kind of errors. Please correct me if I'm wrong. If not, I'm happy to share again.
No, sir, I have not come across that.
Okay, I'll show you those error lists. So any of those errors which is appearing over here, if those errors appear, then we can say if there is an error, instead of doing a hash array, I can say that this value is not found. Okay. Now please note, whenever I'm giving any command or any message to my end user in Excel functions, I need to always put them in quotes. This is what we learned last time also. So I just press enter, and instead of hash array, I got the value. I mean, the message I am getting is that this value is not found. So whenever your boss looks at this fly, he'll say, oh, the price is not found for trifly and it's showing this value is not found. It means that the entry is not correct. So he may go and refer to the reference table. He may find, oh, it's try hyphen fly. So he may try to fix it on his own. So he may go and say, okay, try underscore fly or hyphen fly. And if he enters this, now instead of getting him the message, he's still getting 4.95. But you made your Excel function a bit polite, the VLOOKUP function a bit polite. If it has a valid value, it will throw you a correct value. If it's an invalid value, it will throw you the value is not found. This is another way in which you can use VLOOKUP function and make it behave a bit polite with your senior stakeholders. Now, what type of error messages? So here is a tip functions. I mean tip sheet. Here you can look at this. So if there's a hash div comes only when you divide anything by zero. 10 divided by zero, you get a hash div. Hash reference, if you are referring to a particular cell and that cell or that column is now deleted for some reason, then the reference to that cell is no longer valid. So it gives you a hash ref. Hash name comes when you have entered incorrect formula number. Like for example, if instead of entering VLOOKUP, I made an extra O and I said VLOOKUP and I do like this, I get a hash name indicating that whatever function I'm trying to use is not a right function. So this is what is the explanation of that. Hash any again not available or no answer. Hash value again comes up when you have either you're multiplying string data with a number data. That's where you get a hash value. And all these other values also come into picture. Any of these values, if you identify over here in the if error function, you the if error picks up them and replaces that error with this message called as this value is not found. Okay, I hope you got this information. You're okay with this?
Yes.
Any confusion on this so far?
No, sir.
No, right? Okay, now you guys may be wondering, if all of this is the exact function, what happens with the approximate function? So in the approximate function, here is the trick. Now, someone says that this is an Excel table defined for you, and here is the sales amount. If you have any sales which is between 0 and 1000, okay, you will not get any commission. But if you earn a sale between 1000 to 2500 and 2500, you will get at least $20 as a commission. If you if you have sales between 2500 to 7000, you will get at least $100 of commission. Anything between 7000 and 10,000 will be 250. Anything over and above 10,000 will earn you $700 as a commission. Okay, so if somebody enters the value as 1500, okay, let's do one thing. Let's enter 1000 first. Okay, and let's see what is the commission which we'll earn if I have 1000. What do you think? What is the answer for this? First of all, can you guys help me with the VLOOKUP function for this? What is the lookup value which I'm looking out for?
Sales.
A17.
Correct, A17. Now I put a comma, I move into an Excel array. Now here it's asking me for a table where my first column of my table should have the
A
values of my sales amount.
A5
Sorry, where?
value. A5.
You will start from A5. But
Yeah.
if I look into column A, it doesn't have the sales values over here.
So B.
Yeah, it will be B5. Okay. And you will take it till D10 because you're interested in the commission paid,
Correct.
right? So I will take this as a thumb rule. I will always lock my table, no matter whether it's one transaction or multiple. I'll always lock my table. And then I will go to the third parameter. What is the third parameter? Third parameter asks you that if you have given me the reference table and if the first column contains the value which I'm looking out for, then what is the column number from where you want the VLOOKUP values? So what will be the number over here in our case?
4.
1,
4.
2.
Why 4?
It should be 3.
Correct. Why 3? Because it's starting from B and ending at D. There are
Yeah.
only 3 columns over here, right? So first column becomes this column, second becomes this column, third becomes this columm. So I'll put 3. Now the fundamental question over here is that what is the value which I will look out for? Should I go for exact match or should I go for approximate match? Now let's look for exact match. Let's see what happens with the exact match. If I enter this 3 comma 0 and if I enter 0, I'm getting 20 over here. That's correct because anything between 1000 to 2500 earns me $20 over here. Okay, because 1000 is there as a value, that's why I got an exact match. But if I enter something like 1500, I'll get a hash in me because I'm looking for exact match as 1500, but I'm not able to get that 1500 from that reference table. So I don't need to look out for exact change. I can go for the approximate change. I can say 1.
Sir,
Okay.
but if you put sir, but if you put 7,000 instead of 1,500, will you get correct answer?
Yes, yes. I'll get if I put the approximate match, it covers both the exact as well as the approximate match. I'll show you. So
No, no.
I've
If you put no, so my question is you don't change it to 1, but you keep it 0 and change that 1,500 to 7,000.
it will show you because it's an exact match.
It will show the answer also correctly.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's showing 250
Okay.
because it's an exact match. That's what I'm trying to point you at. Uh, so because it's an exact match, it's working fine. But the moment I enter something which is not an exact match, then there will be an issue. So for example, 1500, that will not work if I put 0. Now I have put already 1 over here. I'll get 1500 getting $20 as a commission value, because that's where 1500 falls into. Now if I put something like 2000, uh, say 3499, I'm getting $100 over here, because that falls in this bracket, and that's why I'm getting $100. So even if I put 7000 now, it's still taking care of it, because it's taking the exact match also into consideration. It's also taking the approximate match also under consideration. But you need to understand where exactly approximate match will come is something like this, something like this kind of a table where they have given you a cumulative kind of a frequency, and they've said that okay, if it's between this range and this range, then this is a commission. It's similar to what we see in school. If you earn marks which is more than 80, you get a high distinction. If you earn something between 70 and 80, you get a distinction. Anything between 60 to 70, you get a first class. Anything between 50 and 60, you get a second class, and so on. So that categorization, that bucketization which is there in your data and your reference table, those are the places where you will use an approximate match.
Sir, I have a question here. In
Yeah.
how does Excel read that when you're not taking column A into consideration, how does it read that it is a range?
Uh, Here in this case, the VLOOKUP is happening from A17. It picks up your values at 7000 over here. Okay, let's not take 7000, let's take 1500. Uh, so it will take up this value, and then it will say, okay, what is your table range? We have given this table range as B5 to D10, right? So B5, as a fundamental rule of VLOOKUP, I told you that the first column of your reference table must contain all the values which you're trying to do a lookup, right? So here in this case, our column B becomes the first column. So it goes into the first column. It looks out for 1500. It checks with the first value. Is 1500 greater than 0? Yes, it is. It will go to the next value and also check whether it is less than 1000, or fitting between 0 and 1000. uh, it says that no, the value which I have is more than 1000. Then it goes to the next value, and it keeps on doing this, because the default behavior or the behavior of the Excel function is such that it sorts out those values for you virtually in its virtual machine. It is sorting out those sales amounts, and once it's sorted, the reference table is sorted, then it becomes very easy for it to do a VLOOKUP and come out with the correct bucketization of your values. So in this
So
particular case,
column A is of not any
no,
importance. It's
it
not
is just for
significant at all.
your it is just for your reference that how to read this particular table.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. But
Okay.
please ensure whenever you're using approximate match, your reference table needs to be sorted. Okay, it has to be sorted. You cannot use a unsorted Excel reference table for approximate match. It will give you some kind of errors. So please make sure that your Excel table, reference table is sorted whenever you're using an approximate function. And that will work like a charm for your